Welcome to the June edition of Core Connection. I'm your host, Patrick Bloodgood. In this month's episode, we check in with the Norfolk District, who gives us an update on an environmental restoration project and the official start of construction to relieve a known choke point in the city of Chesapeake, Virginia. The Pittsburgh District highlights their temp power mission, which incidentally has members deployed to Guam in the wake of Typhoon Moar. Savannah District tags along with one of their biologists as they test water quality at a dredged material containment area along the Savannah River. The Chief of Engineers is in the field, this time checking in from the Middle East. And lastly, we see how rising seas are forcing USACE to change how it approaches mitigating risk for communities in Back Bay areas. All those stories coming up on Core Connection. The health of the Chesapeake Bay, America's largest estuary, is vital to thousands of species of wild and aquatic life. That's why cleaning it up after hundreds of years of pollution is extremely important to not only the health of these species, but a huge economic driver for the country. The Lynnhaven River Ecosystem Restoration Project is one of many that is working to improve water quality in the Bay. The Norfolk District checks in on how their project is benefiting the health of the Chesapeake.
So over the past couple of decades in the Chesapeake Bay, we have seen big improvements in our water quality, but there's still a long way for us to go in order to have a totally healthy ecosystem. One of the major actions towards getting us to these healthy goals is the EPA's Total Maximum Daily Loads, or TMDLs. You can kind of think about this as the Bay's pollution diet. It's the total number of pollutants that we feel the Bay can take and still be able to meet those water quality standards.
I've been living in my house now for maybe 23 years this July. The water when we first moved in was super cloudy all the time, year round. I didn't really worry about it. I love water skiing. That's one of the main things I love to do in the Bay Area. It's water skiing, tubing, kneeboarding, all that fun stuff. But water skiing is significant to me. I'm not a fisherman. But over the years, I started noticing oysters growing along the bulkheading here. And I just assumed that was normal. I'd not seen any oysters anywhere nearby for a long time. Then in September, about 2 years after we moved in, the water is as clear as any lake I've ever seen.
As part of our Lynnhaven River Basin Ecosystem Restoration Project, one of the things we're going to be looking at in our 3 different habitat types, so on the oyster reef, the wetlands, and the submerged aquatic vegetation habitats, is not only looking about how the grasses and the plants and the oysters we're providing habitat for are doing, but also all the critters that make those habitats home. And looking at those and seeing how many we have, quantifying that to see that impact, but also looking at that over a longer time frame. We can monitor these reefs for up to 10 years, so we hope to see kind of the number of critters that we see at year 1, we hope to see more at year 10.
I've seen a lot more dolphins back here in the recent years. There's something they obviously want to eat back here, so that's pretty cool. The dolphins were not here initially. I've seen more skates, just a lot more marine life. So improved water quality, we all benefit from it. Clear water where you can see, it's more inviting.
So the Chesapeake Bay watershed is 64,000 square miles, all the way from New York down through Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, DC, down to us in Virginia. So everything that happens hours away from us affects our water here in the Hampton Roads area. So all those pollutants from stormwater runoff, agricultural runoff, air pollution, and other factors affect our water quality here in the Bay, including excess nutrients, excess sediments, and other things that impair our water quality.
I would hope and dream that we would have enough artificial reefs, enough oysters here, so that year-round, regardless of man's influence, because it is man's influence that clouds the water, have enough oysters around here thriving and surviving and procreating and spreading, that the water remain clear regardless of how much we and our boating activities stir it up.
This project is important to me personally, not just because I'm a biologist, but I also live in the Lynnhaven River watershed. So I'm out there on the water with my friends, I'm out at the restaurants there in the water. I love to eat local oysters, local fish. And so protecting this river is not just important for the ecosystem, but it's important to me and everyone who works here at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Norfolk District.
We'll stay with the Norfolk District, who celebrated the start of construction on a known choke point in the city of Chesapeake. After decades of planning and design, the Deep Creek Bridge, which crosses the Dismal Swamp Canal, is being replaced with a wider bridge to accommodate today's increased traffic demands.
This is not just a victory for Deep Creek. This is a victory for all of Chesapeake, for our region, and for our state. Whenever you make connections like this and move traffic along, you are really advancing a quality of life for all citizens. So we just want to thank you. Thank the Army Corps for sticking with us. Thank our federal government, our state government for persevering.
As we all know, and as the mayor talked about, it's been a long time in the making. Several DEs, several district commanders, city managers, mayors that have come before us have worked hard to see this project to this point.
We know the Deep Creek Bridge is not merely a structure. It is a lifeline that connects communities, fosters economic growth, enhances the quality of life for residents and businesses alike. It improves accessibility, emergency response, and hurricane evacuation. It reduces travel times. We know we're building a vital link for the community and the region. And with that understanding, my team's focus and our commitment to you is to ensure this bridge is completed safely and on time, to keep the lines of communication open, both with the city and the community, and to keep you informed of what's happening and when, in response. I ask you to let us know how we're doing, what we could do better, and how we can better serve you. As I said earlier, it's an honor to be here, to be part of this community team, and to mark this historic moment in Deep Creek. Now let's go build a bridge.
The USACE power mission works to provide emergency temp power to critical facilities during natural disaster response, much like what is going on in Guam. The Pittsburgh District serves as home to this mission, and they give us an inside look at what the mission does for our nation.
Without power, it is not only the lights and the refrigerator and having your cell phone and your television and stuff. It's much more basic. It's fresh water and sewage treatment plants working, and what happens if those don't operate?
Pittsburgh District is the only district that manages and oversees temporary emergency power missions on behalf of FEMA. We're prepared to launch our teams on very little notice, whether it is Monday morning at 7 o'clock, whether it's Christmas Eve, it does not matter. We're always ready to roll out the door, and we're always ready to support the nation to get temporary power where it's needed.
We've responded to all kinds of different disasters in the last couple of years since I've been here. Hurricane, tornado, winter storms, ice storms, wildfires out in the West and Midwest, and just anything that can cause a power outage. The people we serve are local communities in general, but specifically it's critical public facilities, and it starts with life-saving facilities, hospitals, emergency rooms, and then life-sustaining facilities. We've installed generators at dialysis centers in the height of COVID. Those facilities that are truly saving and maintaining lives during the aftermath of a disaster is our customer.
Our planning and response teams are on a 6-hour recall alert. If there is a request, they have 6 hours to start movement so we can be set up and operational in 24 to 48 hours in a disaster area upon a request from FEMA to provide temporary emergency power.
And it's not necessarily dealing with speed and how quick we can get there. It's the efficiencies of how we can get the generators installed to save the people's lives or to reduce the amount of burden that is on the community members themselves. The Pittsburgh District is the sole provider of the temporary emergency power contract and the administrative needs that are required in order to make this program work. We are the experts, but we must rely on other districts and other people within the USACE and our stakeholders, FEMA, our contractors, the local and state POCs to move the mission along. We have to have all of those parties involved in order to crack the code of miscommunication.
If I could get one message across to the impacted districts of what Pittsburgh does for temporary emergency power, we are here for them every step of the way to enable them and resource them so that they can focus on their employees, the disaster that has just occurred in their backyard and their local partners, and we can focus on providing temporary emergency power in their area and just take all of the administrative burden off of them.
We take away the burden from the other districts we support by managing ENGLINK taskers, conducting RSO&I for deploying personnel, managing funds, and conducting fiscal closeout after the mission is complete. Regardless of where it happens, all temporary emergency power missions come to Pittsburgh, and we provide that same level of support whether it's one single mission or whether it's multiple missions over multiple areas. We provide that support no matter what.
A good example of that is one of the storms that came through in 2018, I believe it was. When it hit the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, you had a district responsible for that area. Then it hit Florida and then proceeded to come up the coast. And it came all the way to Virginia. So you've got multiple districts handling their individual areas, but every one of those temp power missions was all being managed out of Pittsburgh because we're the experts in that field.
This work is very fulfilling. It is the most fulfilling thing I think you can do in the Corps of Engineers. Without the support of us behind the scenes, the mission can't happen. Our communities benefit. Our fellow citizens that have had their lives kicked out from underneath of them due to a natural disaster or something else that was completely out of their control, they receive the benefit.
Placing dredge material in upland placement facilities is a standard practice for USACE, but along with the material that is placed in these areas, a large amount of water is also pumped in. This water then slowly travels from one end of the site to the other, allowing sediment to fall out of the water column. This water then returns back to the body of water it was pumped out of, but before it is reintroduced, biologists continually check for contaminants to make sure it is safe.
I'm a nature enthusiast. I love that I get to come to work and talk about birds and alligators all day. When we dredge sediment out of the river and we put it in these containment areas, the water separates from the sediment and then we release the water back into the river. We're making sure that this water is safe. If we're concerned about any sort of contamination, we would shut down water coming out of the weir back into the river. We bring a sonde with us that has several sensors on it, so we immediately get results on the water quality. We are doing something good. There's really no part of the job that I don't love.
The Chief of Engineers was in the field this past month, this time checking in on the Middle East District. He got the chance to talk with the Middle East District Commander and Director of Programs about the mission USACE has there.
Hey team, Lieutenant General Scott Spellman here, 55th Chief of Engineers. We're coming to you today from Qatar with our great Middle East District, our District Commander, Colonel Flip Seacrest, and our great DPM, Mr. Tom Waters. Hey Flip, so we're coming off the third quarter EGM, where we were talking about thinking differently about delivering this massive program in the Army Corps of Engineers. You've had a massive program here in the district for some time.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the things you're doing to do things differently to get after the challenges you have?
Hey, sir, again, welcome to Qatar, and thank you for asking that question.
Yeah.
Hey, I think, with the Middle East District, it's a very dynamic environment, and coming off the EGM, like you said, sir, how do we take USACE normal business processes and stretch them sometimes?
Right.
And we have to do that every day here in the Middle East District with our host. We work in 9 different countries currently. Our host nation partners really want us to try things differently. And so, we're used to doing split delivery, where we don't do the entire USACE package, but we'll try different things with them. And so it's just a great opportunity to use what we know works and apply it to operations here in the Middle East. And we do that every day.
And you're doing that in abundance, like you said.
We do it in abundance. We're doing it in Qatar, Saudi Arabia. They're always challenging us with these unique dynamic problems that we have to work through. So if you're interested in, immersing yourself in diverse cultures and really thinking out of the box, then, come work with the Middle East District.
And that's what I want to talk to Mr. Waters about, the team that he's looking for to build the talent of the future. Hey, Tom, so last time you and I talked, we talked a little bit about the program. I'm just hoping, can you give the team an update for the program that you have today in the district and the type of talent that you're looking for to bring over?
Yes, sir. And sir, thank you back so much for coming back to Qatar.
Yeah.
We had you about a year ago in Kuwait, and it's rare to get you out in this part of the AO, and it's
It's good to
also
be here.
It's also rare to get people out in our part of the AO. We have a tremendous program, about $2 billion in 9 countries right now.
Yeah.
Some of the most complex work in USACE. If you want to work on a multi-mission surface combatant ship program, littoral combat ships, we have $500 million program going into the ground right now in Jubail in Saudi Arabia, right on the coast. So good accommodations, good complex work, work that you're just not going to see anywhere else in USACE. We're doing missile defense.
Yeah.
We're doing THAAD, Patriot, F-15, F-16, F-18. We have programs that support the warfighter. We have programs that support foreign countries. If you want to be part of regional security, stability operations, do more than just build a project. Come out and work for us.
Yeah.
You're going to get experience out in the Middle East district that you're never going to see anywhere else in USACE right now. And Chief, we also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we also have the Transatlantic Expeditionary District. They have an invaluable mission right now supporting Over the Horizon, a very important mission based out of Kuwait. We need good people for that mission too. So if you're interested, look us up, Middle East District, PAO, or look me up, in the global, and we're gonna recruit you and we're gonna get you out to the field.
So Tom, some really unique work here in district, but you're also looking for some folks that have a little bit of time within USACE, right?
Yeah, so we're hungry for young engineers that are hungry to be with us, but we also need that seasoned veteran that needs to come out here, because we need senior leaders and we need senior technical leaders that can help guide some of our our younger workforce that we're trying to grow.
That's right.
Yeah.
Great. Well, you're
Yes, sir.
certainly building strong out here in the Middle East District. And Flip, I just want to say thanks for your leadership. And Tom, thanks for all you do.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Great. Building strong.
USACE is working with coastal communities throughout the U.S. to address the impacts of sea level rise. But as these impacts have reached further inland to bays and not just directly along the coast, the Corps of Engineers has had to adapt how it approaches mitigation for these areas. The oceans are impacting coastal communities more than ever before.
It's not even a national issue, it's a worldwide issue. So we have a confluence of events. We have, the effects of climate change, certainly the effects of sea level change is associated with climate change. And then we have the constant pressures associated with increased development in these vulnerable coastal communities.
Throughout the United States, the story is the same for coastal communities large and small.
Here in Miami-Dade, right, we are at risk to many types of flooding, but we know hurricane season this year and every year in the future is bringing risks of coastal storm surge, and we're extremely low-lying here in Miami-Dade County.
We're a low-lying community. We have a shallow roll-up off the coasts that doesn't block the wave energy as you do on the East Coast. So waves come up and they are impacting our infrastructure and our community.
We have nuisance flooding here, sunny day flooding here, we have the tidal flooding, we have stormwater flooding, we have it all. And it's increasing. We just see through our last 20 or 30 years just the increasing frequency and impact and sometimes the duration of these storms. It's not going to get easy for us.
Norfolk is experiencing the second highest rate of sea level rise on the East Coast compared to New Orleans as being number one. And so we have a lot of nuisance flooding issues, but we do see a change in water levels at the extreme levels as well. So we've seen more high tide events in the last 20 years than we have in the last 70.
The impacts don't end at the coastline for these communities. For decades, people have been moving into back bay areas near low-lying marshlands, which are environmentally vital for both upland and waterborne species.
If you really think about it in a broad term, it's a competition, really, a competition for a very scarce resource. There's only so much waterfront property. People want to habitate there. Our environmental critters and creatures all depend upon it for their very survival, and yet we all collide in this same area, and so it sets up this inherent conflict, whether it be for how we protect and provide protection or how we preserve the environment.
These increased impacts and the delicate balance between the competing uses is causing USACE to adapt to how it mitigates for the damages caused by these rising waters.
As we move from the open ocean coastline into the back bay shorelines, we needed to develop new tools. So our research labs developed new science, new technology to help us better estimate, better model what's going on. Our economic policies and procedures have went to and expanded to look beyond what we were traditionally doing and looking more comprehensive at the full suite of benefits that are afforded, whether it be to social inequities or whether it be environmental justice, whatever it might be, we've adapted over that same period of time.
The nation's coastal back bays are also subject to the effects of compound flooding, where the confluences of rivers, tide, storm surge, and stormwater all merge, creating a greater impact.
We've entered a phase now where the problems we're trying to solve are inherently more complex than the problems we were trying to solve probably decades ago. And so I think the idea here now is we need to plan for the future. We need to build a cadre of scientists, engineers, and planners that have the necessary tools to deal with these ongoing changes, rely upon the people who have had that experience acting as mentors and such. And I can't understate enough where we have to get into the university systems and the school systems, probably starting at almost the middle school level, just trying to get people more interested in the sciences themselves, and with a particular emphasis on these very important critical issues that we're dealing with today.
Vitri says USACE continues to adapt to the changing environment and is actively working to hire the next generation who will increasingly use the newer skills and techniques to tackle this international issue.
Team members that we have now are more broad in their experience level. They're dealing a lot more in these coastal environments, a very dynamic environment, and they're also understanding the linkages between what the engineering side of the house is doing and what the environmental side needs. So there's a lot of cohesion now that really did not exist probably the late 90s, I would say, early 2000s. You see a lot more diversification of what we're doing, portfolio, and as well as the people, obviously, to match the portfolio.
Cohesion, which will develop the solutions for coastal communities using a mix of natural and nature-based solutions to manage the risk against the threats of coastal storms, compounded with the effects of future sea level change. For the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Patrick Bloodgood, Washington. This closes out our June edition of Corps Connection. Remember, as we fully enter summer, be sure to be safe on, in, or near the water. Always remember to wear a life jacket and keep tabs on where your kids may be. We'll see you back here next month for another episode of Corps Connection.